Hello again. I'm back to talk more about the planets. Do this every week, and I'm glad that you are here to join me. Um, it's been a very active week. Wow, hasn't it? We have been looking at all kinds of scorpionic energy coming in. It's Libra season finally. The equinox was on Monday, and hopefully everybody's enjoying Libra season. But yeah, and then Mars went into Scorpio, and then today, Wednesday, the 24th, the moon went into Scorpio early in the morning, just in time for that Mars square Pluto. Mars in Scorpio, Pluto in Aquarius. Wow. How's everybody been doing with that? I'm sure there's some kind of story of intensity that follows, right? Possibly some kind of crisis. Unfortunately, that's just how these days are. We're in it. We're in it. We're in the season of, well, like falling. There's a lot of shit coming out. It's pretty intense. It's enough to make a very, very intense environment for everybody. And truth coming out, right? We've got some truth coming out. Things that have been hiding in the Scorpio realm. Well, the shit's getting stirred up. And the stuff is going to come to the surface when you stir it up. So, yeah, it's been a crazy week. Let's look at the next week that's coming. Let's see. Let me get my chart here. Oh, I have to actually pull it up. Right. There we go. All right, so this is today's chart. Um, yeah, Moon and Mars together in Scorpio. Wow. I'm glad I got to stay in today, actually. I'm really glad. Tuesdays and Wednesdays, I usually get to stay inside and not have to get out into the craziness. So it's just a little bit of a reprieve for me. But yeah, I could see that it's been an intense day today. Probably a lot of drama, right? Some drama play out in your life, possibly. Some emotional shit. Did you get involved in a fight that you didn't need to get involved in? Or maybe you got involved in a fight that you felt like you were in the wrong place at the right time. Right place, wrong time. You know, something like that. because Scorpio isn't really about being at the right place at the right time. That Mars and Moon together in Scorpio, you probably found yourself inside of some kind of drama that you didn't want to be in. Yeah. Also means that the moon was also square Pluto too today, a little bit earlier, but so it's that closing square. The closing square is going to bring some illuminated action. We've got an idea as to where we're going uh, with this theme. Yeah. And also looking at, what is it here? Also looking at the, um, it's in conjunct between Mars and Neptune. That's really creating an uncomfortable spot. And you may not understand where it's coming from because of Neptune. You may have the veil over you. And it might be that you're reaching out to or an invisible source. Some people are in the process of cracking open their hearts. And sometimes it takes a crisis in order to do that. So it may have been some kind of spark of crisis with this element here. Okay. And the next day, I let me stop sharing real quick. Then we'll come this way. That way I can move the chart around. All right, go forward a day. So tomorrow, the 25th, it'll be Thursday. And really the main event for Thursday is going to be the moon trining um, Jupiter and conjuncting Black Moon Lilith. So we've got these two in water signs. And the moon trining Jupiter. Jupiter's in Cancer and the moon is in Scorpio. Well, that water trine could be like an act of prayer. Because I know a lot of people have been looking into this idea of prayer and they had either forgotten about it, come away from it. Black Moon Lilith in Scorpio is sort of about that separation. Um, Black Moon Lilith in Scorpio is ruled by Pluto. So that's far out in the depths. It's far out in the ethers. Pluto is in Aquarius right now. That's out far out in the ethers. Black Moon Lilith has been, uh, you know, it, Black Moon Lilith is known for the isolation theme. And when the moon and Black Moon Lilith come together, especially in Scorpio, uh, either you're going to see a lot of darkness, you're going to see the separation between you and your emotions. You'll see the way that you've been trying to avoid your emotions, but not just like surface emotions, like deep emotions. And Jupiter in a trine to this is like that prayer that comes when you find yourself in the depths. Yes, Jupiter is really our faith, our lifeline to faith. You know, whatever God that you believe in, that's your lifeline to faith. It's your why, it's your meaning, the reason why you think that things are happening. And so this alignment um, on Thursday, which is actually Jupiter's day, so it's kind of a beautiful thing. That's why it stood out to me on Jupiter's day. Jupiter's having a trine from Cancer to Scorpio, like reaching into that deep pocket of pain, trauma, oppression. What kind of themes of oppression and repression and isolation are coming up? Don't forget the lifeline. It's something to consider. Even though we're doing astrology, believe, we still have faith. And on Friday, the moon is going into Sagittarius in the afternoon. Just scoot it forward so we can see that. So when the moon goes into Sagittarius, it's going to oppose Uranus and Gemini. And these are the patterns and cycles that we go through every month. But every month, this particular illumination where you have the moon in Sagittarius uh, in opposition to Uranus in Gemini, uh, there is, I want to say, sparks of emotional intelligence coming in, like the kind of wisdom that you have when you've been through stuff. And then when you think about it later and you realize things, and Friday might be like a sudden realization of something that brings like emotional wisdom. There's an opportunity for that if you just try to stay aware, right? Because consciousness is the key to all of this. You know, and since we're still talking about the beginning of Libra season, remember that Libra is about relationships. Libra, in a healthy sense, is about having conscious partnerships, having collaborative partnerships and relationships. So the kind of relationship where everybody, where we'll just take two people and they're both contributing equally. And that is a very healthy expression of Libra. The unhealthy expression of Libra, the shadow side, would be um, not having a sense of your own self, not really having your own opinions, and just relying on other people to um, have an opinion for you, uh, and defining yourself entirely by the relationship and not with yourself also. So the shadow side of Libra is about losing yourself. The healthy part of Libra is the balance between yourself and others. And, Libra season is here to teach us about ourselves through others. And so don't be surprised when other people are having experiences that you're learning from. And a lot of people will be having that going on because that's ultimately the goal of Libra season. Libra suns, if you have personal planets in Libra, I have my North Node and my Pluto in Libra. And so it's been quite a journey learning about myself through other people and not losing myself in relationships and not being overpowered by the other in relationships. Because sometimes I'll find myself in friendships and there's definitely not an equal um, collaboration going on. And if it feels like it's too much me or it feels like too much of another person, it starts to feel like either I'm doing all the work or somebody else is doing all the work. It feels out of balance. So that's one of, my generation with Pluto and Libra. That's what we're learning. And then also those of us with the North Node in Libra, that is our job, is to have all these different experiences with relationships so that we can figure out what we really want out of a relationship. Because it can't always just be about the other person. You don't necessarily build a relationship that way. So it's about learning about that two-way street, right? And how it goes both ways. Hmm. Mm. And yeah, so the Libra person is the negotiator, the diplomat, and the peacemaker. But I'm sure that we can all attest to meeting Libra people who are not those. And so just remember that the lessons coming in are about how to be that peacemaker, how to be the diplomat, you know, how to weigh both sides so that it's not uh, too uneven. Yeah. So moving on to Saturday. Saturday is the moon square date. Moon square Venus. And this is an opening square. So this type of action that we're being called to is about integrating our higher self with our physical body. The higher self is very, um, it is wisdom, right? The higher self is just ultimately our own wisdom. And Venus here in Virgo, the values are about like the physical body and health and sort of like simplified things that are just about taking care of the daily, day by day. You have to take care of yourself, like brush your teeth, you know, take a shower, um, clean up your space. Because these are all things that you only really do these things for yourself when you actually respect yourself. And that is a type of wisdom, right? So on Saturday, it's really the only moving feature is that the moon is square to Venus. That's going to be the main theme for Saturday. It's like maybe you add something to your routine that that you've been needing to add to take care of yourself because and it even could be just taking some time away from the madness, because that right now can go a long ways. So if you're pushed to do that, if you feel called to take yourself away from chaos, then know that it's your higher self telling you, like, you really need this. You really do. I know a bunch of people at work have been wanting to take days off. So we've all just been feeling this need to just like take care of ourselves. The holiday season is coming at us rapidly. October is going to be beginning, and then we've got Hallow Thanksmas coming. Bam. It's just going to go by like a blur. So it's a good time to think about little moments that you can take away from this chaos. Because it's complete madness out there, right? Just need to take care of yourself. Because if everybody was taking care of ourselves, then the collective would calm down, right? There's wisdom in that. And so on Sunday, the moon is squaring Saturn. And that could be calling up responsibilities. And it's a closing square to Saturn. Um, this closing square to Saturn could be like, hey, there's some stuff you forgot about. You gotta take care of this thing or that thing. It may have been sort of like underneath the radar. It's probably been flying under the radar until this moment. And then you're like, oh shit, I gotta take care of this thing. Yeah. The moon makes a nice trine over to Chiron. and Eris. I added Eris to my chart so we could see that they're conjunct. And so the moon making this trine to this conjunction here, Chiron and Eris, that's like uh, the way that we respond when we have to do things we don't really want to do. Are you going to respond with wounding, your wounded response, whining about it, dragging your feet? Or are you going to take a healed response to it and say, this is for my own good? All right, I'm glad that this came to light. So, that's also something to think about with regards to what's coming up is to remember that your response to it is going to set you up for the future, right? On Monday, I'm trying to get through the week here a little bit quicker than I have been. On Monday, oh, yes. So the moon goes into Capricorn, which is more of that responsibility. Okay, we're gonna finally lean into our responsibilities after taking a quick break for our higher self. Breathe a sigh of relief and then get back to the grind. But see, Capricorn isn't necessarily the grind. Capricorn is the um, overlying responsibilities, the big reasons why we have to do things. I mean, it could, bring a sense of repression. Capricorn is restricting, so you might feel a little bit sort of claustrophobic with your emotions and the things and everything that's lining up, saying, "Hey, you need to pay attention to me." And you might feel a little bit overwhelmed. And that's just part of it. And it's the sun square moon. So it's the waxing half moon. And it's starting to show more because the last time the sun and the moon were together was for that new moon solar eclipse. So this opening square between the sun and the moon, it's gonna show more of what that is about, more of that theme. So that square between Libra and Capricorn and the moon and the sun. No, I would say that since it's Libra season, it's going to be relationship based. That most of these aspects are going to bring up relationship type issues, or the context is going to be in a relationship that you're experiencing these things. The opening square here that we're looking at could be about you feeling like the unevenness, right? Maybe you're taking into account how many more responsibilities you have versus another person. And that's a dangerous path to walk down, especially since we don't fully understand another person's true experience unless you're in their skin. Yeah. Forget being in somebody else's shoes. Like you have to be in their skin. That's just the way that I see it. So try to soften that edge. Try to take some pride in the extra responsibilities that you think that you're taking on. because you may, because that response, taking pride instead of being bitter, it'll open up a door in your heart for you to be able to see the truth of the matter. And the moon will have just moved past the square with Neptune on Monday also here. It would have been a little bit earlier on in the day, but the trine, sorry, square, the square between the moon and Neptune, that's where those initial thoughts might be originating from. The that weird sense of bitterness, or just not being able to clearly see that somebody else is taking responsibility just like you are. You just, the moon moving through that square to Venus, I mean, Neptune, it might trigger you into thinking, or, missing that another person is carrying a load that you just can't see. Because if we're going to relate to other people, we have to learn how to see their invisible load. And what is that? That's going to be in communication, compassion, and straight up just having compassion. If you find a way to have compassion for somebody, you'll learn the truth, and you'll see that there's more of an equal balance. And if not, then that's the lesson that you're learning too. If you're starting to see that you're more responsible and another person isn't, you can sit with that and see where it goes, and just notice it instead of reacting to it. Because there'll be a moment in time when we come to the full moon later on this month, or yeah, it's in another week or so. Um, when we come to that full moon, where you'll be able to see a lot more clearly the dynamic between you and this other person, or you and the other entity that you were feeling so uh, bitter, stressed out, uh, repressed. These feelings will resolve. That's something that I know, because the stage that we're in with a lot of these aspects are opening up. So we'll have illumination soon enough. Mm. Then Tuesday, on next Tuesday, Moon will move into an opposition with um, Jupiter there. Mm, That's the main feature, other than the moon being square to uh, Mercury here too. So the moon being in a square to Mercury is going to shed a little bit more light on relationship issues. If you are in the space where you opened your heart and you had compassion, communication will start to flow. Communication will start to come in. If you've closed yourself off, obviously communication is going to be bumpy, sporadic, it'll be tense. Um, Either you have an experience of opening communication because you were wise enough to use compassion, or you have a really tense experience with somebody that's been sort of growing through the week, right? We started off with the moon next to Mars, and, you know, if you didn't resolve that in a graceful way, it's just going to get uglier, right? That's always how it works. But here in this chart, it's showing you because Mercury is in Libra, and one of the main components to having a healthy relationship is communication. And so Mercury is starting to be featured as it comes into a square with Jupiter. So it can either, it's either going to exacerbate some kind of issue, like emotional, and then it's going to make it even bigger, or you could have a heart healing moment, and especially with that moon in Capricorn, um, with Saturn being in Pisces right now, the ruler of Capricorn, uh, it's entirely possible that you can open up your heart. It'll be a spiritual experience. Having compassion will be a spiritual experience, and it'll be foundational to your future and moving on and upwards. And that's always going to be the pattern. It's just that right now it really is in focus. Yeah. Hmm. And then we make it back to Wednesday again, where the moon goes into Aquarius next. And we're gonna stop here because I don't want to spoil all of the fun for next week. The next week. When the moon comes into conjunction with Pluto. It's been playing around with Pluto this week, right? So when it comes into conjunction, you're gonna see how important it has been to open that heart. You might miss out on some magical opportunities that are coming if you're closed off, if you're too worried about what's gonna happen out there, because, like, yeah, it's crazy, but understand this, it's always been crazy. It's always been crazy. It's just always been under the radar, and you didn't get to see it or know it. It wasn't in the news, but now it's in the news, and it's like coming face to face. And that's what the challenges are gonna be. You know? Ah, yes. It's gonna be a fun week, right? Oh man. And since I really liked doing the card pulls, I brought some cards this time again. This time it is my wild unknown, uh, the wild unknown alchemy deck. So beautiful. I love the wild unknown. I love her Kim Krans. I love her mind. I love her artwork. I love the way it all looks, and I love the way that she writes for these cards. So, and these cards are cool. Like the back of them have, I think it's like a blue rose. I'm not sure. It looks like blue fabric or something. I'm not sure. Not exactly sure what it is. I think it's a blue rose. I'm gonna shuffle this a little bit. This autumn season, this fall season, it's like I've been waiting for this. I've been waiting for this time to come so we can just get it over with. I don't mean to be like that, but wow, there's been a lot of anticipation, to get to this point and to be able to get through it. Hmm. Right. Hmm. Interesting. I'll have to get the guidebook out for this one. Good. So this card that I pulled, it is says contra naturam, which means against nature. And I happen to know that that black square is Saturn. Sometimes Saturn can be a bit against nature. See if I can get this closer so we can see it. Hmm. Let's see, what does it say? Uh, takes me a minute to find it. I'm getting to it. I'm getting there. All right. It says willfulness, to force or control. On some level, we all know when we're going against nature. We recognize it in feelings of impatience, and agitation that arise when trying to force certain outcomes. The Contra Naturam card arrives to remind the alchemists that they cannot control the uncontrollable. Good point. Nature has its way, enveloping us in a wild narrative that we can collaborate in. See, that's Libra, collaborate, but not dictate. We cannot dictate this force. No matter our efforts to manage every aspect of our lives, the mess ensues. Spring is soggy. The lotus requires mud. People do what they do. Oh, yes, remember that. Remember that during this time, people just do what they do. Have compassion for that. Discards heeds a warning not to fight the flow of Mother Nature or of destiny. Once we loosen the grip of what we think life should look like, a whole new realm of possibilities awakens. And that's like the magic. Now is the time to be radically open to what nature has in store for you. Yeah, you stay radically open. Yeah, definitely is relating to all that stuff I just said. Um, don't force stuff because that's the fight energy. No, we want more of that flow energy right now. There'll be a time to fight. There'll be a time. There's a time for everything, right? All right. Well, everybody, I hope you have a nice week. And I hope that this helps a little bit, knowing what the week is has in store for everybody. I know that it helps me to go over this stuff, um, to be more aware, right? Awareness, consciousness. Try to keep that in mind this week, right? Okay. Have a lovely week. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next week. Thanks. Bye.